Virgo, this is your astrology for May 2016. Thank you for joining me. Now, the bad news is that Mercury, your ruler, is in retrograde. It's been in retrograde since the 28th of April and will stay in retrograde until the 22nd of May. And it's in Taurus in your 9th house. So the way that's going to manifest itself for you, Virgo, is that I think you're going to be less than thrilled by changing house, by traveling, by exploring the world in a physical sense. I think you're going to be very comfortable kind of staying home, staying put, and I think you're going to really enjoy any sort of security that you have in your life, okay? So anything that is steadfast, solid, you will get a lot of joy and pleasure out of that. And if you are forced to make changes, then just kind of grit your teeth and just be aware that it will be more difficult for you this time around than it would at other times, just because your ruler is in that retrograde. The other retrograde that's going on is Mars, and that's in retrograde from the 17th of April through until the 29th of June, and that's in Sagittarius in your 4th house of family, and it sits right next to your Saturn, okay? So I really think you're questioning where your family life is going. I also think you're less than interested in fixing things if they're problematic, okay? I think you're really focused on yourself at the moment and really maintaining a positive sense of self-actualization. I think you feel pretty comfortable and good about yourself and what you're doing. And I think people who consistently chip away at you and who really don't contribute anything, I think you're sick of that. I think you're fed up, and I think you're really standing up for yourself. You're naturally someone who's pretty giving anyway. You're interested in helping other people improve their life circumstances. But this month, if you run into people who are deliberately being obstinate, or that you judge as consistently providing you with negativity or not being positive in any way, I think you're going to be super, super harsh and cut them off. So be careful about that. Ending friendships, ending long-term relationships because you make a judgment and say this person has never been any good. Just be a little bit more objective and think, do we have our ups as well as our downs in this relationship? Because you're going to be far more focused on the negatives. On the 2nd and 3rd of May, Venus goes into Taurus in your 9th house. So that is a direct contradiction to your Mercury in retrograde in that 9th. Because now you have the Sun in Taurus and you have Venus in Taurus in that 9th house of travel and expansion. And you're going to love to travel and you're going to love to explore new things. And that will completely drive you nuts with your Mars in retrograde, not your Mars in retrograde, your Mercury in retrograde in your 9th. So what do? Do you travel or do you not travel? What I think the way to cheat this and the way to get around all of this is to travel on a spiritual, intellectual level. And you may be scoffing saying, oh yeah, Greg, nice trick. But there's real scope for you to educate yourself, to improve your skills, and to broaden your mind, rather than, scuttling off to Peru or Brazil or wherever it is and just really getting fed up with it. On the 4th of May, there's a grand trine in fire, which connects Saturn, your rising, and your moon. And this is very interesting because you're alive and passionate about your relationship with spirit. Okay, so at the risk of sounding like a television preacher, evangelist or something, I really think the unmanifest side of things is really going to be of great interest to you, and I think you'll be getting a lot of exciting information about what it is you really care about, what it is you really want to achieve, and what you really want to move forward with to create structure. What's your life purpose, basically? Work with your guides, work with your angels, do meditations and ask, because it's a great time to get some answers. On the 5th of May, the moon starts to conjunct your midheaven. Your midheaven is in your 9th in Taurus, so that is expanding and growing. Your moon in Aries allows you to take action and to take things in the direction you want to go in. So you've been given information on the 4th on the 5th, it's time to put that into practice. And you get a 10 out of 10 this month for work-related information, for life purpose-related information, for building, for putting things into place that will ultimately have a beneficial outcome or impact on your career. Okay, so that can look a number of ways. If you're a if you work in a bank, and you start to realize that you want that job, then you can actually start to research into it and see what you need to do to be able to transition from your existing job into that other job. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. There's a real focus, and this path forward, your future career path, is really coming into sharp focus, and because you can actually see it for the first time, you can pursue it and you can start walking it. On the 6th of May, the new moon occurs in Taurus in your 9th. So again, this completely overwhelms the Mercury in retrograde in that 9th house, because now you have a new moon pulling practical earthy energy in. You've got Venus in Taurus, you've got your midheaven in Taurus. So I really feel that you have a renewed sense of love and excitement and enthusiasm about your career in future and what that's going to look like. And whether that is study, you know, I need to study, I need to enhance my skills, I need to expand what I know, that will be alive and very good. And I think it is a good time for you to study despite having a Mercury in retrograde, despite your ruler being in retrograde. It's a great time for you to learn. And in fact, you know, when Mercury is in retrograde, it forces you to look at things differently. So, you know, if you work as a chiropractor, then maybe you're now going to study the Chinese version of chiropractor, and that will add to your practice. And it will be a different skill set which will enrich your work. On the 7th of May, the Sun and the Moon are moving apart now after that new moon, and the retrograde Mercury sits in the middle of them. Retrograde Mercury is causing a lot of grief here, and I think that some sort of trap or scam becomes present and makes an appearance in your life. And this is interesting and important that you know, if you're out in the world, if you're a business person, if you're someone who has friends, sooner or later you will get in touch with someone who will either try and scam you, or someone who will try and take you for your money, or try and manipulate you, or, you know, people, sooner or later you run into someone who has negative intentions. I think the 7th of May is one of those days, but the trick with that is to realize that those people are operating from a negative place, that what goes around comes around. If they're doing it to you, they'll do it to other people, and they'll get the karma back from that, and there's nothing to do with you. So keep yourself safe. Don't lash out, don't retaliate. That will only make things worse and will take you down to the same level. You don't need to go there. So for instance, you know, if you work in a restaurant and someone leaves a 1-cent tip as an insult, okay? You can go on social media and you can shame that person, and you can put their card receipt details online and say, this is a terrible customer, and you can get your own back and take revenge. But I promise you that other customers will stay away from your business because you're engaged in that mudslinging. No one likes that. It's your thought for the day there. On the 9th of May, Jupiter goes direct. Jupiter is the lucky planet of success and good fortune, and it's been in Virgo for a long time. I always go on about what a great time this is for you, but now it gets even better because it goes direct. So the Jupiter good luck energy gets splurged onto you, and it's in your first house of self, allowing you to achieve your soul purpose, allowing you to be successful and to enjoy success and abundance and riches in your life. And that goes from strength to strength now. On the 10th of May, the moon starts to trine Neptune. The moon is in Cancer in your 11th house, and Neptune is in, oh, this is going to make me cry actually, because you get the nurturing and care that you've been wanting for so long from someone. So you want someone to take care of you and really just, I don't know, take you in their arms and hug you and tell you that everything's going to be okay and that they love you and that everything's going to be fine. You get that on the 10th, okay? So get your hanky out. It might, some waterworks might appear. Good, tears of joy though, not sad tears. On the 12th of May, a T-square shows up, and this sits, it takes your Jupiter and it opposes your Neptune, and it culminates with Saturn in your 4th. So the great sense of self that you've got and the great sense of love and compassion you have for other people really doesn't extend to your family either, but it extends to other people in your life, colleagues, friends, and that's actually quite a tragedy because family members do wind us up more than other people. You know why? Because they stick with us longer than other people and we're closer to them. So try and overcome yourself, be nice, and if a family member, you know, don't overdo it. Like, don't force yourself to go stay at your dad's house if you despise the man for a week. But if someone needs you, then be there for them, you know, and support them. On the 13th, the moon goes into Leo and it sits on the Ascendant. The moon is in Leo in your 12th and so is the rising sign. And there's real passion and real fire about spirituality at the moment. I think you're excited by spiritual principles. I think you have had a spiritual experience sometime during this month. It could be 1 minute or an hour. But I really think you feel and you sense the potential and you sense the good plan that the universe has in store for you. And because you can sense it, it makes it real. So good things are in the cards for you. The 13th rather, I think something really positive can come into your life. Some sort of really exciting, fun thing that you could have never dreamed and imagined. It's going to be like an early birthday present, very early birthday present for you. And something really fun and exciting will happen to you on the 13th. On the 14th of May, the moon is now in Virgo, in your sign, and it starts to square Saturn. That energy remains until the 17th. You feel very certain of yourself again. You feel very comfortable in your own skin. And I think what you'll notice is that you are up against it when it comes to a family member again. And it's a period of me versus them. And the thing that you can do and the thing that you have control over is yourself. And what you do with your life, you don't have control over anybody else. So if someone in your family is causing you grief or is being a consistent thorn in your side, then don't engage with that and focus on the positive things you have going on in your life. You know, the other thing about that is if you have a great life and someone is miserable because they're making themselves miserable, it's not your job to tidy it up for them. You know, so if someone in your family, and this is a bad example, it's quite harsh, but that's what I mean. This is, you need to think a little bit harshly. If you've got someone in your family who's diabetic and who's well educated and who has the money and the means and everything to realize that they need to take their insulin every day, but they refuse to do it and end up in hospital every other day, it is not your job to sit in the ambulance with them every time because it's their choosing. I know, wow, that's a rough example. But you know, if you have that illness, then it's your responsibility, and if you have the education to be able to take care of yourself, then it's your responsibility to look after your health. It's no one else's. And I really get the sense that someone is kind of pressing on you or putting pressure on you to sort something out that's really none of your business. So don't go there. It doesn't fulfill you. It won't make you happy. That kind of goes on until the 17th. So that 3-day period, watch out for that. On the 17th, Mars opposes the Sun. And Mars is still in retrograde. It's urging you to stay away from family things. The Sun is in Taurus. And it's in your 9th house of education and travel. Again, this is a great time to discover on a spiritual level and to do something for your own soul, whether it's a psychic development workshop or it's going to the ashram or whatever it is. Do something for your spirit, for your soul. On the 18th, the moon opposes Uranus. Uranus is in your 8th the moon is in your second. You'll get a good idea how to make money from an institution in your life or someone who is self-employed. You'll see something that can inspire you and that can help your finances improve. So you have the potential to not reinvent the wheel here. You can see someone who's already got a wheel that's rolling nicely, and you can look at how they do it and learn from that. On the 19th, your rising sign starts to square the Sun and Venus. And again, you get a 10 out of 10 for spirituality this month and information that will lead to greater fulfillment and connection. So May is a very, and you know, when I say spirituality, I mean, you know, connecting with spirit. But spirituality often is also a sign or a feeling of being comfortable within yourself and feeling like you're connected with your higher self. It's like a sense of empowerment. And I think you feel very comfortable in your own skin. On the 21st, the full moon occurs in Sagittarius. And information comes to fruition now, and the research you've been doing, you get to a climax point and you really discover something that is of great use to you. And that path that became apparent to you really is open, the door opens up and you can really walk down a new path in your life, a new window of opportunity opens up and is presented through information. On the 22nd, thank goodness, Mercury goes direct. Things start to ease up a little bit now in terms of travel, in terms of practical movements. I think things will get kind of back to normal there. On the 23rd, the moon starts to conjunct Saturn in your fourth. And that whole area of your chart is just very difficult at the moment. You've got a retrograde Mars, you've got Saturn also in retrograde, and the moon sitting in Sagittarius in your fourth house. It's a very kind of get away from me energy. It's like, I don't want to be part of this boat ride at all. And I think you feel very okay with that on the 23rd. I mean, ultimately, your family is what it is, and I think it's going to be in your interest to maintain a positive relationship with them. But sometimes things are worse than others, and sometimes what you say can have a positive impact, and sometimes it's just pointless. If you're going to take a break from family, if you're going to just kind of make it easier on yourself, then May is the month to do it, because you just have no joy with that sector at all. On the 24th, Venus goes into Gemini in your 10th. Communication around work is just as rubbishy as your family sector is at the moment. That's how good your career sector is right now, especially on the 24th. And you will love your job again. You will love learning about it, engaging with it. Pour your energy into work. That's far more fulfilling. On the 26th, there's a T-square, which connects Saturn with the opposing Sun. And then it combines with Neptune in your 7th. I think, yeah, so there is a lot of help and compassion that's available to you, and I think you get a lot of nurture from either friends or personal, intimate relationships. I hadn't mentioned that at all, really. Romance, I think your romantic life this month, there's real potential for you to be looked after and to be taken care of in some way, and to really kind of receive the love that you've wanted. But you do have Pluto and the moon in Capricorn in your 5th on the 26th of May. So on a romantic level, things are a little bit up and down. So you can experience real highs and real lows. It's not a very consistent month here. And you can have new beginnings and you can have dramatic endings. And this is a forecast for all of Virgo. So the weather, when it comes to romance, is very changeable. So be open to receiving nurture and care, because that feels wonderful. But also be ready that you could also have a row with someone, or you could have some difficult times as well. So it's not smooth sailing when it comes to romance. The best thing here for you this month is spirituality and work. On the 28th, Mars goes into Scorpio. So, okay, so the family side of things eases up a little bit now. And I think you start to become more interested in information and what's fair and what isn't fair. So you go, at the end of the month, you have a little bit of a brainwave here, and you start to think that justice and social justice is really important, and I think you might even go ape on some sort of cause and become an activist for something just out of the blue that doesn't last long, and it fizzles after a couple of days, and you'll be like, what was that about, you know? So a lot of just kind of tempestuous mood weather coming up for you this month, Virgo, which isn't that great, especially when you try and make long-term plans based on feelings, because feelings come and go like the wind. Finally, the 29th, 30th, and 31st of May, you end with a Grand Cross in the chart, and the biggest plus factor is work, the way you feel about yourself, and building positive relationships in your work. Focus on that and keep it very simple. And even though relationships in your family are getting better, don't let that influence you too much, and focus on the good thing that you can do in the here and now, not in 20 years from now or 10 years down the road or whatever. So if you'd like a private reading with me about your family and how to improve relationships, or your working situation, what your life purpose is, please get in touch with me via the website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab and order your reading there. A personal reading is based on your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. It's going to be much more specific than this forecast, which is for Virgo, which takes a lot more people into account because it's all the people who are born within that time period, which is a lot, okay? So we can narrow it down and specify on some of these trends. Get in touch with me via the website. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I will speak to you soon. I'm here on the YouTube channel for the monthly forecast for your sign, but also for the daily and monthly tarot readings, so have a look at those. Have a great May, and I'll speak to you again soon.